Like we like to do about this time. Right here is Black Power Media, and this is the Remix Morning Show. Joe. Now, I hope y'all ready for a good day and a good week, because this is the hump. So get the hump out your back and shake your rump right here, right now. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Let me introduce you to your host. We got no other than Ricky, Ryan, and Dr. Jared Boom.
What's up, good people?
What up?
What's up, remixers? What's up, Ricky?
Hey, how are you?
I'm as good as could be expected. I was looking for the birthday girl.
Right?
You said it's Jackie's birthday. I thought it was the 6th.
Nah, she said it was the day.
Oh. Okay.
Don't start, Ricky. I done made a whole thumbnail and everything. So hopefully she'll make it. She had something come up, but she said she's gonna still try to make it today. So yes, we are sending love to Jackie for her birthday.
Well, happy birthday to her, many more, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I think obviously the news of the day is got word late not late, but in the evening last night that there was a shooting at Morgan State.
Mm-hmm.
4 wounded, no fatalities, thankfully.
All right.
Classes have been canceled. I just finished reading the president's statement. He got all the support from the governor and from the mayor. And and so apparently, what I've heard and what I've gathered from the news and have heard from a couple of students is that at least one person, not a Morgan student, was outside visiting with friends who were students at outside Thurgood Marshall Hall, residential halls. It's a dorm right there at the center of campus. And that all I'm aware of, I'm not really clear that the shots were fired and someone apparently ran into the dorm. But that's the most detail I've been able to gather. One of my students reported needing some hospitalization with a minor injury suffered from running while running away. But I'm not. That's the most clarity that I have on all that has gone on. But campus is closed. People are being encouraged to make avail themselves of the Morgan State Health Counseling Services if necessary. I've let my students know if there's anything I can do, they're welcome to reach out to me. And
you get any info, Ricky?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't really have the details. As much as Dr. Ball knows is what I know about it being at Thurgood. I used to go to Morgan. I didn't graduate. Yeah, I dropped out.
Kanye.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I dropped out, but no. We often come on into Jared's classrooms to talk specifically about the over policing of Morgan State University. So this morning I just sent out an email to the chapter and just to the broader membership who may have heard about the shooting to just keep in mind of a sober analysis when we see they're trying to put a cop city on Coppin State University's campus, which is the other HBCU on the other side of the city on the west side. And both Coppin and Morgan have 1033 programs, which are Department of Defense programs that allow for military-grade weapons. So both Coppin and Morgan have access to 12-gauge riot-type shotguns and rifles and Glocks. Morgan State is also complicit in the murder of Tyrone West, alongside Baltimore Police Department. And then Geechee, I believe, last night posted on his Instagram.
Yeah, I got it right here. Yeah. I can pull it up if we can play it whenever you want. But I was ready for it.
Yeah, and I think this clip just emphasizes the route that they're taking, especially with Jared mentioning that the governor and the mayor have already spoken out and given support. This is already a growing, rising crime narrative to justify that $330 million Cop City, the proposal that's being proposed in a city that's currently suffering from parasites in the water. So Baltimore City's water is not even safe to drink currently. The school infrastructure is depleting. If it's too hot, kids can't go to school. If it's too cold, kids can't go to school. Public housing has been gutted. I think there's 2 remaining in the city, and the priority remains more policing. And we'll see that in effect in Morgan State, which is surrounded by a Black community.
Presence, was that comforting, to see them, or what was the
Let me get it from the beginning.
police presence? Was that comforting, to see them, or what was the police presence like on campus after this happened?
It was comforting in the fact that they got there relatively quickly, but it also is very alarming when you see, SWAT officers running in their, Army fatigues and with large guns. That could be very alarming considering that we were right across from 3 of our biggest, residence halls on campus. So I just really do feel for some of our friends who do live on campus housing.
So to Geechee's point, the reporter, and to yours, Erica, the reporter, the frame you can see already developing. Didn't it make you feel good to see the police there? Don't we want the police? Don't we want more police? And then right on cue, I don't know who that student is. I don't know her to be particularly engaged in political activism, et cetera, and so forth. But she just right on cue was like, but I'm not really thrilled with seeing cats with big guns and fatigues running through the campus.
Right. And those 2 guns and fatigues are part of the $500,000 that's been allotted to Baltimore City alone, that gets distributed to Morgan State for the 1033. And then Morgan State also has a brand new police headquarters on campus, a brand new facility. It's really nice inside, though, I must say.
The facility?
State of the art, yeah. It's
Oh,
state of the art. Well, it's a building per se, but you can't really go in. You can't really see much. Like when you go in, it's like you just get to the window and that's about it. Then, but there's a lot happening in the back, and it's 2 or 3 stories tall. So
wow.
they're doing something, but you can't really get past that window. Really state of the art, brand new. So we see that all of this money is going into Morgan's policing, and then we have groups like the Black Underground who last week were raising the issue of housing, because Morgan State also is suffering from a similar housing situation that we just seen with Howard. So all this money is going into campus safety, and yet 4 people are still able to get shot. So there's no correlation between the amount of money that's being put into this and campus safety. But then I would be remiss to even think that this is about campus safety and not about the surrounding area of campus.
So if I can, what I wanted to try to do real quick, so people would have maybe a little bit of a better idea. So the Murphy Fine Arts Center is, so this is. Let's see where I just lost it. Where'd it go? There it is.
Yeah. There you go.
The Murphy Fine Arts Center, and I'm not sure why Thurgood Marshall isn't showing up, but Thurgood Marshall is really right over here.
Mm-hmm.
No, there it is. Sorry, there it is. Thurgood Marshall Apartments are right there. That's student housing, and this is where, in between here, is where it was said to be happening. When you see the news, all of the police were gathered on this Argonne Road here. But what I noticed was that the news also showed that if you cross Hillen Road and come over to this side where you see all these signs for the new Northwood Shopping Center. So like my office is like right here, and then right over here is this new shopping center. What I noticed last night on the news is that this is where the police turned this shopping center into their staging area. So there's the new police, I guess, substation on campus is like right here.
Yeah. At the bottom of the steps.
Yeah, at the bottom of the steps. And then up here is where all the shops are in a parking lot. And then they turned that into the staging center where they had all the ambulance and police and the command center or whatever and some reporters. And I couldn't help but just think, I mean, so obviously they want to protect, the concern would be protecting the new property, the new businesses, and whoever they would expect to be shopping there. But it did also just occur to me how convenient it was that they now had this new flattened out, paved out staging area that could be so quickly turned into a militarized space and a command post of sorts. It just I don't even know what I'm really getting at. It just felt weird watching that on the news. It just felt oddly convenient that just that quick, because the police is the station's right there, very well equipped, well armed. They could just spread out into the parking lot, set up shop, and be ready to go to war with the whole community in a heartbeat. And so I saw somebody asking in the chat, what should be done, and the problem that I have, and I don't know that it was being asked in this way, but the problem that I have when those general questions come up is that we get the response we saw the reporter asking in that clip from Geechee's video. Well, don't you just need more police? And then any conversation that might start going to how do we expand resources to change society in a way that we won't be, it wouldn't be likely that people would feel compelled to think of these kinds of acts as their only response or their only thing that they can do. And then I'll stop here by saying I have to admit I watched this very powerful, well done video essay about the film The Joker and class, and juxtaposing the Joker film to the general the way in general the Joker character is discussed in the Batman films and in the conventional Batman films, always out of context and always only as an easily targeted purveyor of violence and terrorism. But if you look at the Joker film from the lens of a class analysis and to see how the film shows you a decaying society, the breakdown of a Reagan-era 1980s society, the erosion of safety nets and redistribution, just in the context of white males, this is what the film is arguing ends up happening. And then by the end of the film, whether you want to or not, you start to have a different view of the Joker and recognize that, damn, the Batman just looks like a rich
cop.
boy cop who beats up the poor, abused, oppressed. But you can't, but my point is, I know those kinds of conversations get marginalized because in the context of a commercial news environment, of a mainstream journalism environment, the easy solution is lock them up, more police, and we'll go from there. And obviously that's not the answer. So
he's a road cop, a vigilante.
And then also, like, not even that the new substation is at the bottom of that shopping center, but across the street from that shopping center is Northwood Apartments. And that's a mix of not just students, but families that live in those apartments. So, and they always have their set of police intrusion, I would say, or, they always come across police often, even when I was there and living in Northwood. So it's an issue. They even pushed Northwood back, I believe, right? So there's displacement and in order to widen and build out the shopping center. So there's displacement and all of that happening right in the midst of Morgan. And now you see that there's an additional over-policing because of this incident. So I just encourage people to just have a sober analysis around it, because like Dr. Ball just mentioned, like, it's always more police, more police, more police, which has been the symptom, the answer to what plagues Baltimore City. But like I said, it's a number of issues that plagues Baltimore City, and all of the funding just keeps going towards policing, and not just the 1033 and not just Cop City, but the Deadly Exchange and Operation Relentless Pursuit, and now Johns Hopkins has their own private police force that gets to circle like a 5-mile radius outside of the campus, alongside the Baltimore Police Department. So it's really a lot.
Sounds like a job for Cop City. That's what they're gonna say.
I'm sure that I can already hear the caps being removed from pens, but I don't know whatever the equivalent is for typing. the keyboards are getting refreshed for that one for sure.
Oh yeah. That's a
and then
perfect
at the end of the day, I also just feel really bad for the students. I mean, there's already the regular sort of struggle of being young and on your own and largely broke, and then whether it was COVID or just the stress of student life. I mean, as always happens, there's tragedies in people's families. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and then on top of that, this and what I used to stereotypically used to sort of make a silly joke about that I won't make anymore, about the relative safety of black campuses from this kind of violence. It's terrible. So what's up, Kamal?
Hey.
So we switch. Oh, I was gonna say we switch Ricky for Kamal.
I'm saying he just pops up on the screen, no invite or nothing. I see all that.
I was trying to wrap up so he could give you an intro.
Yeah, but
no reason to wrap up. I may have thought it's a serious topic, and so no reason for an intro. I just needed to pop up and
okay, look at you.
Well, somebody in the chat asked if they're building any private prisons in Maryland. That I'm not really too sure about, but I know that the public universities, all of them in the state of Maryland, use prison labor. So all of the furniture in all of the public universities in the state of Maryland are made by prisoners. So that includes Towson University, etc., UMBC. So there is a serious collusion between the state of Maryland, which is, the Beltway. DC is right there. Lots of people have government jobs. And then just everyday working class people and students. It's almost pretty cemented when we think about Lockheed Martin and the role that they play in high schools, and Northrop Grumman plays in high schools in terms of scholarship programs and internships that they give out to graduate students. So it's really an interlocking situation here in the state of Maryland, Baltimore, and DC.
Yeah, no doubt. And we did, just even this semester already, students were when I was playing catch up with how they're doing, they were already reporting to a certain extent, like when I asked specifically about how safe they felt and how they felt about the police presence on campus. Admittedly, that wasn't at the top of their concerns. I mean, they were not thrilled by it. They thought of the private security force that was recently hired, as they see them as a joke. And there's the general, we're not thrilled to see the regular Morgan State Police and the Baltimore City Police that are always around. But that wasn't their primary concern. Their primary concern when it came to dorms wasn't the threat of violence, but the threat of unhealthy conditions, or the threat of them not having a room and being displaced, and some even being forced to stay at home. So I say all that to say that I don't know how this is going to impact them in terms of their general feelings of safety on campus, and I don't know. And to the initial point, I'm worried that this is going to be turned into something that's going to be used to encourage more. So yeah.
I mean, I just read that this is the third shooting at the annual homecoming event, like in a row at Morgan.
I don't know if it's in a row.
I don't know about in a row, and there's no, and I'm not aware of anything at this level ever happening. Period.
No. They didn't say at this level. It said Tuesday night marked at least the third consecutive year that a shooting had disrupted homecoming week at Morgan State.
Really?
A man was shot last October in an unsanctioned homecoming after party. 2 years ago, a student was shot at the conclusion of an otherwise peaceful homecoming week.
Oh,
so nothing at this level.
Yeah, that's right. I
do remember, but that's why I don't remember consecutive. But when we spoke with your students, Jared, one of the things they said was, like you mentioned, they think that the on-campus police, they don't really take them seriously, especially since they do a lot to try to be buddy with the students, like they laugh and they joke with the students and things like that. But their real concern was the outsourced private security that was manning the dorms. So now they have metal detectors in the dorms, I guess because of the ongoing, situations. So that is being outsourced. That's not being provided by state funds like the campus police are. They're paying for a private security force. And the students were saying that they're more brutal to them, or they take their job way too seriously. They kind of violate them in ways. They hold up, the line with petty stuff. They make kids late for class and things like that. A lot of like strong arming and show of strength with the private security. And I can only imagine what that would look like now that happened outside of a dorm where someone was able to run into Thurgood, in spite of having the metal detectors. And I guess that's the point, right? All this money is going into safety, and none of these safety mechanisms are keeping anyone safe. So it's a major contradiction.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. The best guarantor of safety is improving society. Particularly with an open campus. At the end of the day, if somebody is committed to committing this kind of act, there's nothing anybody can do. I mean, that's the fear, I think, that exists. That once it's decided that that's happening, there's really not much anybody can do. Apparently, we saw in that clip, the police were there even quickly, and of course they would be because they're right there on campus. It's not going to take them long to show up, but that's not obviously enough to stop someone once they are in a certain state or convinced that this is what they need to do. So, but again, we can't. It's very difficult to raise those kinds of questions about, well, what can we actually do? Because it's just so much easier to say, well, we need more police, or we'll start hearing some silliness about they weren't raised right or their parents need to be involved. I don't know, something silly like that. But
it's all about the access. I mean, in my opinion, it's just there's so much access. I mean, I forgot the stats that are about like this, like one gun per person or something crazy like that. It's this, again, we live in a society where if you are anger or you feel betrayed or you have some fear, you can just easily pick up a gun and start shooting or whatever. And that's more than just the idea of, and then the idea of like you said, like the only retort that people have in larger mainstream society is more police or whatever. So it's never about the idea that the access, is just far too prevalent, in my opinion, for any civilized society to think of itself as civilized, that somehow you have an actual constitutional amendment that protects guns more than it protects people's health, their well-being, their access to health care. It is guns, which are so-called constitutionally protected. And that's the thing that people worry most about having, because they think, even in a twisted way in which people think, oh, if I have something, I'm going to stop somebody else who's going to try to do something to me, which of course never or hardly ever works out that way anyway. But it's just to me, part of the larger issue of any society. It's just the access that people have, which are not about, revolutionary ideas or thoughts that they're going to do with these things. It's really about people's day-to-day conduct in a society that doesn't stress anything around collective living or being connected to people, but it's really about the individualism of do what you want in the moment that you want to do it in, and damn the consequences. I mean, I just think we live in such a sick society that we're all impacted by, and on that one level, and then the doubly having that access to something that can do great harm at a moment's notice, and no one wants to deal with it. No one wants to deal with it. Like it's not even on the table to discuss anymore. It's just, again, like what you guys, it's just, no, just more police or more metal detectors. Like that's not going to stop if I have access, right? And these days, I have access not only to a handgun, I have access to a rifle with a scope that I can, or semi-automatic, or if I make a little change here in automatic, I can just do what I want before anybody gets set up to stop me anyway, right? By the time I'm done, the damage is done. What are you going to do?
So let me ask you. Let me put this scenario out. Okay, y'all are president at Morgan State. A parent calls, says, "I don't feel safe now. What are y'all going to do to make me feel safe?"
I'm going to do everything the president's already doing. I mean, there was already one report on the news last night that a student had already told a reporter, I'm out. I'm switching schools. And I know the president and his crew were already shook over that line. Mm-hmm. And so he's already sent out, I mean, all the beautiful statements. He's doing everything you suppose that, I mean, to be fair, regardless of my criticism, to be fair, he's doing exactly what he can do. He's telling everybody, I love you. We're here for you. The mayor's involved. The governor's involved. I'm talking to the police. I'm talking to the students. I was on campus all night. I'm available to talk to parents. I'm this is we're gonna figure it out for homecoming. I mean, he's doing everything that he's and he to try to calm everybody and to reassure everybody that things are safe, and that this record level of 10,000 students that we've hit is something that need not be reduced or threatened or changed, and so he's doing and that's what I would do. I mean, that's exactly what I would say.
As the parent, I would be like, all right, that sounds good, but what concrete, physical, or some type of, what are you going to do physically or concrete that I could be like?
But that's the thing that happens, that it moves you towards exactly the things that we just talked about, because people have no other solution. So it becomes, I'm going to put a wall up. If it's not already gated off campus, then it's going to be a gated off campus soon, right? And then people are going to have walls. Every entrance is going to have a metal detector of some kind. There's going to be people in uniforms with badges walking around, stopping people, looking at people, starting to fight with people, thinking they have certain powers that no one ever gave them in the first place, or if they have those powers, abusing them to the height of causing more tension. It's just a spiral of like, oh, so this is the answer. Because again, no one wants to deal with, you can put up signs that says this is a no gun campus. So fucking what? So what? You know what I mean? Like, again, if I'm in a mental state and I have access to something, I don't care where it is, right? Unless it is completely gated off and you have metal detectors, right? And even then, like, people shoot at the White House, right? But they can't get in because they have it all gated off and the metal detectors for the most part, right? There's always going to be somebody who's whatever. But then that becomes the answer that makes people feel somewhat safer, even if then they're not really all that safe, right? But that's what you're left with. You're left with those.
But if the president comes out, and just to ear doctor's question, if the president of the universities comes out and starts talking like Kamau or Jared or Ricky, he's going to get fired. He's going to get removed, because as soon as he says, "Well, I'm going to take some of these millions we got from Bezos's wife, and we're going to create," I don't know. Well, I don't even know what could be done from the perspective of a president of a university. We're going to redistribute sources. We're going to create safer space. We're going to I don't know. But if he was to say, really, this is not a problem for Morgan, this is a problem of Baltimore, of Maryland, of the country. This is a problem of y'all. Like, if he does that, then it's going to be, oh, Morgan's looking for a new president. And the board has, so.
I mean, the existing wall is already pretty controversial right now anyway. But I don't know. I don't do well with hypotheticals, because I don't know what I don't, because I can't think through like what I would do in a situation that I would not put myself into. I wouldn't be the president of Morgan State, so I can't really say what I would do. But in terms of like reassuring safety on a general level, I think that we have to be mindful of the reason why parents react the way that they're reacting to is because they too believe in these things around safety and around policing and things like that. So the concrete measure that they're looking for is the one that they want to hear, which is more policing. Now, would that entail more safety for their children? Probably not, because it hasn't. It's over police campus already. But that is how they understand it. So I think that that's the type of pressure that gets built that pushes these sort of policies, because you do have a community that does truly believe that police still keeps us safe. I mean, that's still the work, a lot of the work that we're doing now is to unpack that. No, police do not keep you safe. So when you have a community that's deeply colonized into that belief that they are being kept safe by police, then when incidents like this happens and it's your child, then yeah, your trigger reaction is, what are y'all about to do? What's going to happen concretely? But that doesn't mean that it's the correct reaction. And I think we are doing the work right now to overturn that in the community at large, but then even with the students on campus, because that's not to say that students aren't even thinking, no, there needs to be more police. Because it's an open campus, and it's an open campus surrounded by a Black community that's already underserved and underdeveloped, and people already have the mindset that they don't go there. There's only so far that people are going to go beyond Hillen and beyond Argonne. And so, they're not going to be deep into East Baltimore like that. But that's the community that surrounds Morgan State. So we just have to be mindful that a lot of this begins with a basic level of PE, consistently being in those communities, in those neighborhoods. But we're not going to see an overnight change. We are going to receive those phone calls continuously.
They're going to put up gates to be, yeah, because I mean, if it's an open campus, that's what I see. But they're going to do, no matter what, they're going to blame. Like, you know, I know you guys might have more details than anything I've seen so far, but they've not arrested anybody. I don't think they have a suspect in mind per se. I read something that just said it was thought to be a shooting that took place from the outside as opposed to starting in the dorms. But I don't know what that really means. But that's the answer too. In terms of a hypothetical, they're going to claim to have to close the campus down. They're going to raise
them,
money.
not us. That's what it means.
Yeah, they're going to raise money and do that, and put up a fence, or some gates and all that kind of stuff, and close it off.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see how they would manage that, though.
But I think we've all said it in various ways. It would just be symbolic. It's not going to be real. They'll put up. If anything, yeah.
I'm thinking about how with the bridge and everything. Like, how are you going to close that campus? Like, what would that even look like?
I don't think they can. I don't. Yeah. They would probably mean we're going to put more police outposts on every corner, and we're going to put up a sign that says "This is a safe, closed-off campus."
Pretty much. There's not much you can do. It seems like. But I appreciate y'all thoughts and your report on this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break and come back with some more news right here on the Remix Morning Show. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you can find out about all the dope shows coming on here. And also go to patreon.com and go to Black Power Media and become a member over there. We got some footage over there that you won't see over here, so go check that out. All right, with that said, we're going to take a real quick break and get back to some more news. And once again, big up to Jackie on her B-Day for today. All right, a lot of people say all the time, Ear Doctor, what is it about being a DJ? What is it that makes a DJ keep people on the dance floor? What's one of the top things you do? And I tell them about transitions. So one thing about a transition is being able to go from one song to the other song seamlessly. With that said, let me show you a quick transition, and then we'll get back to it. All right, let's take this song. So, when you're listening to a beat, you want to do a count. And it starts like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. That's when you bring the new beat in, on the 1. As you can hear, a lot of people say you bring it in on the 1. So let's do it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see that? That right there is what you call a smooth transition. Seamless. You stay on the dance floor. You don't move off beat. Because when you do come off beat, then you're like, oh, whoa, what happened? So that is a smooth transition. That's for the DJ 101 right here on Black Power Media. With that said, let's go ahead and get back to the Remix Morning Crew. You know how we do.
Matter how hard you try, you can't stop me now.
I think I could have done that better.
Banging.
I think I could have done that better.
What, the transition?
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew nothing about the count though, did you?
No. I knew all that. I think
you knew how to bring it in on the 1.
I think I could have done it. Yeah, I think I could have been a little bit more smoother.
I think I think and believe I could fly, but you know.
I want to put some money on that.
Yeah, I would like to put some money.
First of all, Kamal, Ear Doctor got to deal with DJ B Love first.
Oh yeah,
right. You are ducking.
Whoa, I'm ducking.
It's been a month.
Hey, please.
It feels like it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a month. This was a whole month ago.
Hey, she had a little gig she had to do on the other
A little
Sunday.
gig.
Yeah, so
A
we
little
couldn't do
gig.
it.
Look at you. Are you, what is it? Some big timer now? You big timing her
I
now?
mean, I gotta go
She had
DJ.
some little gig.
Little
I
gig.
got I got to DJ a Black Polo event this Sunday, and then I'll be flying out to Mexico to go DJ down there the next week. So I'm just
You
throwing
being
some
flown
things
out
out.
someplace to DJ?
Somebody's
Paying for that? Or you paying? How you getting there?
Do I look like I got money? Come on, you know they paying. Oh, she here. I ain't know you was here. My bad.
Get up.
My bad. Whatever. Yo, so that's what it is. I'll let y'all get to some more news unless y'all got any other questions about DJing. No? Good. All right.
I got lots of questions because I will can get back to the news and stuff like that. But I agree. I agree with you. The worst thing a DJ can do, particularly when they switch genres, is when it's not smooth. It's like always the worst. You just would walk off.
Yeah.
And then I never understood, like, when you saw like the floor, like you saw like everybody on the floor, and then in your set you thought, oh, this is what I always.
This will get them.
So you just switch just because that's when you always do it, and then all of a sudden it's like 3 people left. And I never understood. It's like, do you not see that? Do you not see that?
Exactly.
Like, just keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Hey, Doctor, can I just make one little suggestion? You know, when you play soca, quote unquote, can you let the Kes song play just a little? Because you cut it off.
Longer. I do cut it off.
Yeah, you cut the transition before the beat drops. Mm-hmm.
You're right. And I'm glad people like you know that song and they know that transition. A lot of other people new to soca, they don't know about it. So definitely, I got you.
How come you accept her?
Because he has a good point. All right, I'll catch y'all next break.
Per usual.
all right. Well, can you at least slap the map for us here, Doctor, please?
Why your mic sound like that now?
It does. It's a little, yeah.
What happened to it? My mic is messed up now?
Either your mic or your voice.
It went out.
I can't tell which one it is. It feels like it's a little.
It wasn't like that before.
When you slap the map, I will refresh the browser.
There we go. All right, got you. Say less. Let's get it.
Did that work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Welcome everybody back to the Remix Morning Show. Mike corrected. Erica Caines, Kamal Franklin, Jared Ball, Ear Doctor, Sister May on the run sheet. If you all don't mind, there was something I meant to bring up. I don't know if we got to it on here the other day. I think there was one remix that I missed recently, so I'm not sure if this got covered, but there was a shooting on my birthday last week at the Red Nation is reporting this. Let me pull this up real quick. Speaking of,
Ozzy from the Red Nation podcast, co-host of Red Power Hour and a member of the Red Nation. I'm talking to you on Sunday, October 1st, 2023. An agitator opened fire on a prayerful celebration in Tewa territory, also known as Española, New Mexico, shortly after 12 p.m. local time on Thursday, September 28th. This was a premeditated act of violence. The agitator shot Jacob Johns, who was Hopi Akamal Atam, in the torso. Johns was protecting a peaceful group of community members assembled at the Rio Arriba County Annex building, along with a half a dozen other community peacekeepers. The gunman was heard saying, quote, "Let's do this," to a small group of men immediately before opening fire. At the time of the shooting, community members were celebrating a postponement of the reinstallation of a Juan de Oñate statue that was previously removed from its Alcalde, New Mexico location on June 15th of 2020. Rio Arriba County officials plan to reinstall the statue on Thursday morning in its new location in front of the county annex building, but postponed the reinstallation after community members and activists mounted pressure earlier in the week. News of the postponement came as a relief to organizers, who turned the planned peaceful protest into an impromptu peaceful celebration with speeches and a community feed. Before the shooting, the agitator was seen antagonizing the crowd, saying racist remarks, referring to attendees as, quote, Indians, and at one point proclaiming himself to be a follower of QAnon. The agitator also made a point to introduce himself to the media present and requested to be photographed and filmed. In the moments leading up to the shooting, the agitator attempted to approach the small crowd of mostly Indigenous women and children congregating around the event's speakers in front of the building's main entrance. Video evidence shows that Jacob Johns and other community peacekeepers successfully stopped the agitator from approaching the crowd. Eyewitnesses speculate that the shooter was trying to break through the crowd to shoot the speaker, or to jump on the cement pedestal to get a vantage point with the intent of carrying out a mass shooting. Video footage also shows that community peacekeepers did not pursue the agitator once they had successfully removed him to the other side of a wall separating the sidewalk from the complex. Despite this, the agitator reached under his sweatshirt with his right hand, drew a pistol, pointed, and shot one round into the crowd, hitting Johns in the torso. Additional ammunition was seen tucked into his belt by eyewitnesses and on camera. Eyewitnesses have confirmed that the agitator quickly adjusted his aim after shooting Johns and pulled the trigger a second time with the intention of shooting another attendee, but the gun jammed, preventing the release of further rounds. Upon realizing he could go no further with his planned attack, the shooter turned and fled into the complex's parking lot, got into his white Tesla, and sped off. Additionally, eyewitnesses report the shooter attempted to unjam his gun as he fled. The shooter was later apprehended 11 miles away by New Mexico State Police in Milwaukee, New Mexico. Despite Rio Arriba County citing concerns for, quote, public safety as the rationale for postponing the reinstallation, the county offered no protection for Indigenous community members on Thursday. In fact, Rio Arriba County and leaders at all levels of government were made well aware of the high possibility of gun violence and still did nothing. Denise Williams, mother of shooting victim Scott Williams, who was targeted at a 2020 Oñate protest in Albuquerque, said prior to Thursday's event, she called Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's office, the office of U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich, New Mexico State Police, the office of the New Mexico Attorney General, all members of U.S. Congress representing Valencia County in New Mexico, and all New Mexico State representatives and senators from Valencia County, to warn them of the high chance of gun violence directed at attendees. State Senator Elizabeth Stefanik was the only one to respond. Immediately after the shooting, Scott Williams' father, Dan Williams, called the governor's office again to tell her that she, quote, had blood on her hands for failing to properly respond to and prevent both shootings. Immediately after the shooting, 2 Rio Arriba County Annex employees denied children seeking shelter from the shooter entry into the building. They proceeded to come out, yelling at people to leave, and made disparaging comments about attendees and Jacob as he fought for his life feet away from them. The cops did not show up in a timely manner despite the shooter being in the same parking lot as the Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Office, and it took several more minutes for an ambulance to arrive. Eyewitnesses report the complete absence of police intervention. The event's organizers assembled a community peacekeeping team to provide the only public safety measures present on the ground that day. Without hesitation, Johns and half a dozen other Indigenous men and allies volunteered. When Johns was shot, it was attendees who provided the first medical response, saving his life. The first law enforcement officer on the scene ordered the community members providing medical assistance to move away, but they refused because the officer did not identify himself as a medic and made no other attempts to provide assistance. We are incredibly alarmed that pretrial services have recommended the agitator be released without cash bail. We know from firsthand experience that politically and racially motivated shootings like this embolden other like-minded vigilantes who hold the same contempt for Indigenous people and organizers. The agitator and his sympathizers pose a very real and serious threat to all Indigenous people and to Indigenous women activists specifically. The establishment, which Alex Naranjo, Rio Arriba County Commissioner who pushed the reinstallment of the Oñate statue forward, himself lauded as, quote, a system that we've lived with for 400 years, circles its wagons to protect Indian killers who are colonialism's foot soldiers. This means there is virtually no formal protection or justice for Indigenous women, people, and activists in these times of heightened danger. We call upon all national, tribal, state, county, and city officials and movement allies to condemn this racist attack and demand safety and protection for Indigenous people, women, organizations, and communities. We call upon everyone to contact your officials and apply pressure. Demand the following when you're contacting your officials. Number 1, do not release the shooter. Number 2, this must be recognized as the racially motivated hate crime that it is at all levels of government. 3, protect Native women. As of now, the shooter is being held at Rio Arriba County Jail in Tierra Amarilla, New Mexico. The bond hearing is scheduled for Monday at 11:30 a.m. at the Rio Arriba Magistrate Court. We will inform the public of any further updates. And please also pray for Jacob Johns and his family. A GoFundMe has been set up to help support him and his family during his recovery. Please donate and circulate the donation request. Finally, the Red Nation podcast will be recording an emergency live episode about Thursday's events tomorrow evening, Monday, October 2nd at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. The Red Nation and Indian Collective will be discussing the event's wider significance for the Native Liberation Movement. If you would like a link to the press release that I've just shared, please go to therednation.org. That's therednation.org. You can scroll to the bottom to a link to find more information, to find recent media stories, video testimony, and other resources that will help paint the full picture of what happened on Thursday. And please, again, consider joining us tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Mountain Time on the Red Nation podcast platform to listen to a live podcast recording where we will discuss what happened on Thursday. Thank you so much for listening.
So I think a lot of us noticed the Tesla reference.
I noticed
So we got rich. So what we got? Like rich whites are going overboard now too. It's like a classless issue. Everybody got time to.
Right. But I have a question though, because I take a lot of Ubers. And Tesla's drivers seem to be my drivers often in the last couple
really?
So I'm wondering, are people able, is it like a payment plan for Tesla? Like, I'm just interested in like the type of people who buy it. I guess, it's a status vehicle at this point, but it does seem to be open for everyone. So I don't know if that dictates.
And also have some kind of partnership with the Lyft and or Uber company around rentals.
Okay.
So there's also that kind of thing where you have to pay off, you rent it and you get a discount, and you have to do a certain amount of hours in it in order to keep it, which you also then use as your private car. So the status symbol, you have your status symbol, but you're spending most of your time driving people around in the car and you're paying for the rental. So it's my assumption if there's an uptick in the amount of people who happen to have Teslas doing Uber and Lyft, then it's probably not an accident in terms of it's some kind of promotion that's being done or some sort of contractual agreement that's been worked out between the larger company.
And Tesla would, of course, see it as a promotion for their vehicle too.
Right.
And then, admittedly, I was happy that's phrased wrong. I don't know. I'm not saying it right. What I was trying to say is I'm sorry to hear about that news, but I'm glad to have come across the announcement to help spread it, because admittedly, I don't follow those issues enough. I don't follow enough what's happening in indigenous communities and struggles, particularly out in the Midwest. So.
Yeah, well, I know from the All African People's Revolutionary Party, they have a New Mexico chapter. Onya used to be in that chapter. Onya's now in Florida. But from then, that's when I was, because they often organize with indigenous community. There's a lot of right-wing violence in New Mexico. Albuquerque, of course, but in the surrounding areas as well. So all of those events, that person talked about how fast people were able to react and take care of the shooting. a lot of those events are set up that they have security in place and people in place because of the level of violence. I think um, around the 2020 or 2021, a protester was shot in the street um, by one of those right wing people. So I do know that it's very there's a lot of tension, a lot of right wing violence that happens in New Mexico pretty often, and often enough towards the indigenous community, and obviously the Black community as well.
And connected to that is the ongoing slow response or no response by so-called authorities, right? Because they are usually in line with the right-wing attitudes, and therefore taken to a larger extension the actual violence that takes place. So I'm not shocked, and I'm sure a lot of times when we put out these pleas, we as the general organizing community to say let's get the authorities to be accountable. We're really sort of doing it out of a certain a place of that's what you're supposed to do. But in the back of our minds, it's kind of like I think we all know that they're doing exactly what we expect them to do, and the authorities are not going to come. And that's always the dilemma. Even going back to the other conversation about gun violence, right? How do you protect your own community, particularly knowing that when you're doing events and ceremonial things and different things that are supposed to be advocating for what you believe in your community, that you're under the threat of some action by some right wing and or moderate right wing person who's holding racist views. What other protection do you have? Because the cops are not going to really do anything, and nor do you really want them there, to be honest, right? Half the time, again, we call them because it feels like they're the officials who will do some stand between, but for the most part, they're more than willing to sort of step to the side and duck out the way, and let it happen and come back on the scene afterwards after something that's taken place. So it's like, what else do you do in these situations except get have protection for yourself, right? And they ushered the person off and then tried to go back to their ceremony, hoping that would be enough. But it wasn't, because this person had something on them, and they decided that they were now, again, extra aggrieved, and that they're going to pull out and start shooting, right? And would have kept shooting, except, as the statement said, that the fact that the gun jammed. So again, it goes back to this issue. What we need to protect our own communities, because there's no other group, legal and or otherwise, that is going to do anything to stop our communities from being harassed. In fact, what they're going to actually support the harassment, as being stated again, how the person is potentially looking to get being released without any bond whatsoever after they just shot somebody. So that means the court system is just saying minor offense. That's what you do for quote unquote minor offenses, right? Oh, this person is no threat to the larger community. It's a minor offense. He only shot an indigenous person. I mean, come on. Let him out.
Imagine rolling up in a crowd of people and shooting and being deemed not a threat to public safety.
And I think it also puts the issue of cash bail on its head, because now we find ourselves arguing against it. And that's already an ongoing issue. I think ideologically that component is important when they said the QAnon, because those people are nuts. Through and through, they're nuts. But I do think that it's important to raise that they're not just simply, batshit crazy. They're also particularly violent. Because I think it's easy to dismiss a Marjorie Taylor Greene as someone just frivolous and silly, but that is her base, and that's the base she comes out of. So, and she has that potential to be just as violent, rhetorically at least. So it's really important, because I think even in terms of when we speak about the right in general, there's a sort of, especially when you watch the MSNBC pundits like a Joy Reid and things like that, they sort of try to laugh away the seriousness of these people up until the point of a mass shooting. Then it becomes a serious situation. Beforehand, it's all SNL fodder.
Or up until the point of an election.
Right.
Oh, it's just a joke until, they might win. Now you got to vote for us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we've seen that happen with Trump, right? They didn't take that seriously at all up until they had to. and they're still kind of repeating the same thing with laughing about his tactics in court and things like that, up until they have to take it seriously. But I do think the ideological component is really important, in the way that they are targeting not just Africans, but you see indigenous people too. And I think it's also important to note that we don't even hear a lot of these things because they're indigenous. At the very least, we would hear a mass shooting occur and African people have died. Like I said, New Mexico is extremely violent, and we hardly hear any of these things.
So I don't know if we have time, but I think, well, Ear Doctor did. Okay, so, but you mentioned Trump. I don't know. So I'm assuming Ear Doctor showed up, so we don't have time. So if we have time after the Ear Doctor comes back up, we can maybe ask Ear Doctor. Maybe Ear Doctor could play some Sexy Red in the break, and that would prepare us for our another story.
Come on, son. You know I ain't playing no Sexy Red.
I honestly don't know anything about Sexy Red other than that the person exists.
Well,
So I don't.
Yeah,
No.
lucky you. Her and this other sister, what's the name, supposed to be at Morris Brown homecoming.
What?
Sexy Red, and the one that says she likes to eat people's groceries. Suki.
That's Suki with the good fishes.
Yes.
That's not Umar Suki?
Yeah.
That's Umar Suki.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
Morris Brown is doing it big.
Mm-hmm.
Let me hit y'all with a. I know. let me hit y'all with a Dr. Jared Ball anyway.
Medication, right?
Why am I wearing a white hood? Because I can't stand it. All right, yo, big up to everybody tuning in right here. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Hit in, like, and subscribe. Share also. Sharon's Karen. Karen's Sharon. Even if your name ain't Karen. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get to some quick hip-hop news. It's funny that that was brought up because let's talk about the new leader of black women. Bam! We talk about Sexy Red. That's right. Sexy Red just had an interview and was asked what was her thoughts about Trump. And she said, yeah, they support him in the hood. At first, I didn't think people was messing with him. They thought he was racist, saying a little shit against women. But once he started giving black people out of jail and giving them that free money, oh, baby, we love Trump. We need him back in office. So, yep, that is Sexy Red's comment. So, you know they're going to blow that up like she's the new leader of black women in the black race. Now, let's keep on with entertainment news because that's exactly what she is. Entertainer. All right, next part of news we got going on is we got brother getting charged for the death of Tupac. A Nevada grand jury indicted Dwayne Keefe D. Davis and Tupac's death. Prosecutors announced in court Friday charging Davis with a murder with use of deadly weapons and killing the rapper. Up until Davis' indictment, no arrests have been made in the last 27 years. This is a 27-year-old case, y'all. All right, and last but not least, let's talk about putting, for people that believe, let's put some prayers and some good well wishes up for Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. He went to the hospital a while back and had some blood coughing up, and he underwent CAT scan. Doctors discovered an artery was leaking inside one of his lungs, and he carried out emergency surgery in an attempt to stop the bleeding. But however, the procedure wasn't successful, so they had to do another procedure, and this procedure actually has him feeling a lot better. So hopefully he'll get all right. So that is the hip hop news for the day. With that said, let's go ahead and get back to the Remix Morning crew. You know how we do.
So that's wild because Sister Erica had prepared for us that very story.
Oh, look at that.
Do you think more people are going to support Trump now in the hood
like
or
Trump.
no?
Yeah, they support him in the hood.
I sound just like
Because
that.
at first, I don't think people was fucking with him like they thought he was racist, saying little shit and, against women. But once he started getting black people out of jail and giving people their free money, Oh, baby, we love Trump. We need him back in office.
Yeah, that a little bit of free money goes a long way.
We need him back. Because, baby, them checks. Oh, yes, them stimulus checks, Trump. We miss you.
Wow.
That's like Whoa Vicky. She's always talking about Trump. You see her ever?
I like Trump. No, I ain't never seen Whoa Vicky.
She's funny.
All right, get her off.
Wow. So, can I show you one other thing that I just found out too? Talk about the timing. Scheduled for tonight, Morgan State homecoming show.
Oh, who is that?
Sexy Red, Money Jake, YG Tech.
She is making her rounds, boy.
So I'm sorry to ask this. So who exactly is she? Is she a rap artist, obviously, like something like that?
Yes, she's a rap artist.
She has a song talking about her coochie and her bungle.
All her songs talk about her coochie.
Yeah, everybody's got a song about their coochie. I mean, that's not a big deal.
She also gets a big fat check. That homecoming check.
They're talking about it though.
That Morgan State homecoming check, though, she got it. That's like 90% of the student budget goes to these homecoming shows. I'm not even playing. I'm not even playing. They get a rack. They get lots of money.
So is she famous? And am I just out of it? She's like level. What
she's
level?
The new. She's the
break
new
it down,
girl.
Ricky.
Say it again, Vicky. Say it again.
She's not. She's new. She's on the scene, so she's coming up with the Ice Spice and that sort of newer group. But she is a little more vulgar. She's more like a mainstream Suki, because Suki is as vulgar, but has never really been a mainstream artist. So people have been embracing that. And I have a lot of thoughts about about the overt sexuality. Yeah. Well, and it's not even that I think it's too much. I don't think it's a natural thing. I don't think this is like innately. I think it's being pushed. And I thought that before I even heard her say this ridiculousness, because if you've been following or just watching, there's a pretty much a playbook that's happening with these newer artists. So I did think she was an industry plant. I'm not gonna lie, I did think that. But then hearing these Trump comments, I'm like, oh, she for sure. Because what unprovoked like this? Like, why would you say that? And she's not somebody that's politically aligned in any direction per se, and I'm not sure that she's supposed to be somebody taken seriously, especially if you listen to the content of her music, listen to her for politics. But that narrative, she's pushing that narrative real hard, and it's a radio going narrative.
Sex sells. I mean, the names is Big Sexy. I mean, let's remember, what was Marvin Gaye's biggest album when he started being sexy?
I don't even know so much that sex sells.
It is. We talked about it the other day when I brought up Marvin Gaye as his biggest selling album was Sexual Healing. Go ahead and go back and...
I think it's a little more complicated
sex
than
sells.
that.
It doesn't?
It's not just that sex sells. It's songs promoted to white audiences, particularly.
Baby Got Back.
White people love that.
Look, sex. I mean, I'm not.
I mean, I could disagree.
White people also love Public Enemy and Dead Prez. Don't forget that. It's I think it's what gets promoted to the mass audience. They will also like that stuff too.
Because I don't necessarily think it's sex that's being sold here. It's obviously what the commodity is, but I don't necessarily think that that's what's happening with these artists, especially now that they, the Democratic Party has a funding. I don't know if folks remember 2020, even the City Girls were promoting to vote for Joe Biden, and who's going to them for their politics. But I'm saying that these people, there's an investment in using these artists in certain ways, but in terms of like Sexy Red and that direction, even Ice Spice, I would say these. I don't believe in none of these people. I think what happens with them too is because of the overt sexuality and the conversations about gender essentialism and all of that, the conversations around gender as a whole that's happening virally online, a lot of things get conflated. So then you start hearing people say, well, when we were younger, we were listening to Kaya. And nobody really thinks about, should we have been listening to Kaya though? Should we have been listening to, there's a lot of things that have been normalized. Porn and all kinds of things with teens and things like that we don't really introspect, but sort of when the criticism comes, and it's always reactionary criticism too. I want to make that clear. A lot of the criticism about Sexy Red is not based on anything other than Black woman overtly sexual. But when you do get the criticism, nobody thinks like, that's the innate reaction to say, well, we were always doing this or we were always sexual, without thinking, but what does that mean? And to what point? And what's the end goal here? Like, what's the objective?
In the early '90s, KRS One Boogie Down Production came out with an album called "Sex, Drugs, and Violence," and ain't nothing changed. Those are the biggest sellers, and all songs right now contain that. I sit in these 8th grade classes and play these songs, the lyrics, and we just take the beat out and listen to the lyrics, and they're like, "Wow, that's what they're saying." Yep, all that same thing in every song.
So, but my only point would be that the same effect, the same result would occur. The same effect would occur if the content were different and equally promoted.
If
that's I mean, that's the point that I think Ricky's getting at. That it's and that many of us have been getting at. It's not an if. There is an intent behind the construction of these, but it's not specific to. But I'm only responding to still that specific. It's not specific to sex as the message. In other words, any message could be conveyed and become as popular if packaged and delivered the way that overt sexuality is. You could promote a lack of overt sexuality if that was the goal of the society, in just the same way, with I think just the same level of impact.
Right.
But
I do want to push back though on that respectability politics thing, because I think that just gets thrown out there as a way to just even consider what's being said.
Real quick, what is respectability politics?
Well, it's a lot. It depends on who you're asking, right? It depends on who you're asking. But it has become a way to sort of not actually address the criticism. Like, again, there are reactionary criticisms. There are people who are saying things for a certain reason. But when we're talking about the overt sexuality of women, and then even when we're talking about like the TikTok to OnlyFans streamline that's happening, and the ages of young girls becoming younger and younger exposed to these things, there are conversations that need to be had. And that's not something that's about respectability politics. That's something about where are we going as a community of African people? What is the objective here? What is the end goal? And that's not saying that people are against people being, sexual or against people's sexual choices or anything like that. It's about interrogating what's going on as a colonized people. None of these ideas are ours. And that needs to be understood. These are ideas that are funneled to us. These are ideas that are normalized for us, but these are not our ideas. This is not our culture. So just parsing through that and trying to think about that is not a matter of respectability politics. And I think that's just like, it's liberalism.
Hip hop has been compromised for the money. All right. Cool. So that is the news, hip hop news for the day. Y'all got that. Y'all got Tupac's murder, and y'all also got Crazy Bone. I will catch y'all on the next go round. Peace.
Thank you very much. I know Sister Jackie's on her way. We have a guest to join her as well shortly. But in the meantime, between time, either of you got anything you want to?
Yes. I want to talk about Haiti. I put the link in our little private chat.
In the private chat? Oh,
yeah.
I don't see that. I don't see a link in the private chat. I think you might have put it in the real chat. Did you put it in the real chat?
Is that the Black Alliance for Peace statement?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Now
you want me to put it up or you got it?
I got it. Just go ahead and
yeah, because we opened this up talking about the rise in crime leading to occupation of our communities. So I do want to put some context in how the rise in gang violence in that narrative has led to the occupation of Haiti now. So on Monday, UN Security Council approved, not unanimously, to send the Kenya-led mission to Haiti. So about that, it was not a successful UN Security Council vote. Russia and China did abstain, and we can have criticisms about that absent, reasons why they abstained, because both Russia and China have spoken about why they've abstained. But the vote in itself, without being a unanimous vote, will not have UN backing. So what this essentially means is that this will be a U.S.-backed and U.S.-funded Kenya-led mission to Haiti. And because it's U.S.-backed and U.S.-funded, all U.S. allies, especially those in CARICOM, like Mia Mottley of Barbados, the progressive queen herself, will be sending people. They have been offering to send troops to support Kenya. So this is being slated as a Pan-African occupation. And then having been in several of these rooms with these forces over the last couple of weeks just to agitate around this issue, that's the real belief that this is a Pan-African occupation, primarily because they would they think it fares well or fares better to see one of us there as opposed to a white face. Without really understanding that it's all being dictated by these white faces and this white power. I don't know if you want to scroll down. So we heard about
Sure.
vote.
Yep.
Yeah, at the we heard about the vote, which it took less than 5 minutes for them to vote for this. And from that evening, we began to write up the statement, which was released yesterday. In less than 24 hours, we got about 50 different organizations to sign on globally, many of them from the Americas, grassroots organizations that are part of the U.S. Out of the Americas network that BAP has built up. But essentially, what we wanted to raise the issue of that one, it was not a successful UN vote, so it would not be a UN backed um, mission. Also, that many of the like with Russia and China specifically, reasons why they abstained is because they noted that they were not given proper information about what this mission would even entail. But one of the things that they did say that sparked a little interest for me is that they were not against the mission per se, but didn't understand what the mission was, and without any of those details, they couldn't make a vote. And that stood out for me primarily because I'm thinking about other nations in the Americas who are not part of the UN Security Council, but have sort of acknowledged the Haitian government. And a lot of people, in CARICOM included, think they're doing these things on behalf of what the Haitian government wants. However, there is no Haitian government because it's illegitimate. Nobody voted for Ariel Henry ever. He was installed by the core group. The core group installed that government. So the fact that they are listening to a government that's illegitimate poses a problem. Also, there has been no what would a multinational security support mission that's a peaceful mission that is supposed to be combating vile gang violence, quote unquote. What does that look like? How does that work? Are we expected to believe that nobody would be hurt, like nothing's going to happen, it's going to be peaceful because it's black on black people? Like it doesn't make any sense. This is just more of the facade of humanitarianism. But they have used the gang situation, and also they've used the canal situation because the Dominican Republic went to the UN pleading for some resolve in this, and has also met with Kenya separately, offering to support Kenya with food and services that they may need while occupying Haiti. The combination of that has led to what we're seeing here. But it's just important to know that there is no legitimate Haitian government. This is not a unanimous decision, meaning it will be U.S. backed. So the U.S. has their hands all in it. We have not heard anything from the CBC. Typically, Maxine Waters has been historically known to say something about Haiti, has not said anything because it's really being slated as a Pan-African endeavor, and we really need to pick that apart.
I think so. I agree with most of what Ricky said. I think the only thing I want to push back on or struggle through is that I think it is a UN approved operation. It was a 13-2 vote, 13-4, only 2 abstentions, no votes. And so on 2 levels, and it won't be run under the so-called blue helmets, but it has the authorization. It's going to be run supposedly by the Kenyans, right? The Kenyan government, which I agree with you, really means the United States is running this, right? In reality, that's what it means, but it's still being given the cover of a UN-sanctioned intervention. Right. So my 2 points, my sticking points is I think Russia and China betrayed Haiti in abstaining And I think that's a fake excuse for them to use, that they didn't have enough information. They know exactly what this is. This is an intervention for, if we know it, they know it. There's nothing that we know that the Russian and Chinese government don't know before we do it, and or more than what we do it. They understand the contours of imperialism as well as any other nation on this earth, as they claim to be fighting against it. So I think by them allowing this, by only abstaining and not taking a stronger stance and actually veto, remember, they are permanent members of the Security Council.
Right.
One veto means that this would not have gone through in the Security Council. So I think it's a dereliction of duty, and I'd say, for them to allow this to go through. And I don't accept their excuses for why they did. And then two, I definitely agree, though. I think this is the given. This shows whose hands the UN is in, as it always has been, of course, because what this really shows is that Kenya in no way is running any operation whatsoever. This part I completely agree. This is completely a show piece in which the United States doesn't send other people or its own troops, right, or UN troops, but it's going to be Black people, African people, so-called providing security for other African people or Haitians. And so therefore, they are hoping that it overshadows or excuses or puts a curtain around the fact that this is an intervention force meant to keep the government operating and to make sure that opposition is torn apart and is derailed and is put back in their place. And so so all of this, any assumptions otherwise by, in terms of the media and what it's putting out there in terms of the UN has approved this security force, this is only a force meant to stabilize the current Haitian government, which is operating on behalf of Western interests, but it feels too weak to protect itself under the violence. And there is real violence that has been unleashed, however, by that government and its sponsors and the elite itself, in bringing these weapons into the Haitian gangs.
Right. And then also, because I think it's always kind of suggested that I make excuses for Russia and China. That wasn't what I'm doing.
I wasn't suggesting that. I just was different with the analysis.
In the context of, if there were other in the Americas, if more countries of the Americas were part of the UN Security Council, they would have made that same choice, because they have all recognized this government that's an illegitimate government. That was the point that I'm making. Not to say what the choice that they were making or the excuse why they made it was legitimate, but to say that Haiti would have been portrayed in more ways than one throughout the Americas, because they all recognize this government and they don't see it as legitimate, or they have all formally recognized the government, I should say. And then, yes, to your point, it did go through the UN votes and all that, but because the Blue Helmets will not be really a part of it, it is not. So it's because it's Kenya led, and the U.S. has already pledged, I think, up to 100 million in support. It is U.S. backed and U.S. led in terms of that, and Kenya's just playing the black face of imperialism right now. But Kenya's not alone. Jamaica, Barbados, Bahamas, Antigua and Barbuda, Peru is going in there. Peru with their illegitimate government. Brazil is still in the core group. People give a lot to Lula, a lot, and quite frankly more than he deserves, especially in the context of Haiti. Lula he won't leave the core group. Why is he still in the core group? He recognized the woman in Peru. Like, there's little moves that Lula's making that just doesn't make sense. But when it comes to Haiti, Haiti's disposable in the Americas. And part of the reason why we are the Haiti Americas team is because we understand Haiti as being the laboratory for the entire region. Everything that happens in Haiti is like a test start for how they use the OAS here or how they use sanctions there. So it's always important that we center Haiti as part of the Americas. And I also mentioned that they would have taken this position because these are countries that signed on to the Zone of Peace. In 2014, in January, everybody met in Havana, Cuba, and said that we designate this region as a zone of peace. Everything happening to Haiti is a complete violation of the Zone of Peace, from the militarization and occupation to the lack of sovereignty and self-determination. So all of these nations are violating a stance that they've already taken in terms of not defending and standing beside Haiti. And they're doing this because everything said about Haiti is believed. If somebody says that Haiti is a violent country, there's no introspection to what does that mean. We could talk about where the violence is happening and where it's occurring and how it's concentrated and why. And people will still say, but the gangs are out of control. In the same ways that we just went and talked about the rising crime. There's a belief and a narrative around particular sets of people that stick and hold. And regardless of what people are saying on the ground in Haiti and civil societies are trying to enact, the belief that Haiti can't govern itself has always stood true. And because of that, I think there's a chart from 30 years of UN occupation from 1990 to now, and you can see all of the different types and forms of UN occupation and all of the different countries that have been leading it, even Guinea-Bissau at one point in the 90s. So it's really important to note how Haiti is treated. And I do agree that Russia and China, they play the same game that they played in Libya, which is why we always remind folks about what Russia and China did with Libya and remind folks about the limitations of these allyships.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. My thoughts on this is with no further delay, let me bring up no other than Jackie Lukman.
Why do we keep losing Ricky every time?
I know until we bring up somebody, we lose Ricky for a brief
Happy
second.
birthday, Jackie.
I don't know what's going on with that. Sorry about that, but hey, y'all.
Happy birthday.
Technically,
Happy
it's tomorrow.
birthday.
It's tomorrow.
Oh,
But-
so your doctor set us up.
No, but I'm not going to be here tomorrow because I'm going to be in Chicago at a Chicago Peace Action event.
Take that.
So I'm going to be on a panel there, and they're flying me out and putting me up and all this kind of stuff. And so yeah, I'm gonna be having a good time. So I just got my injections in my osteoarthritic knees, the artificial cartilage. I'm just getting my bathrooms redone. I'm just sparkly inside and out, all just squeaky clean,
Inside and
sparkly
out.
inside and out.
It's hard to go back to the Haiti conversation after all that. But
I
the
know. I
other
was
thing I
in the
wanted to
background
say-
listening and like, dang, I'm just gonna mess this whole vibe up right now. But okay.
I just really quickly, because I know we're going to break soon and there's a guest coming up. So I think a lot of smoke also needs to go towards, I think it's, as you were saying, Ricky, the Latin America, Central America, and Caribbean nations, which also, have a huge role in continuing to allow this to happen. And like you said, letting Haiti be used as this sort of Western playground and experimental place that they damn well would not want for their own nation, but they are willing to sell out of Haiti again. And this is the strength of Western imperialism, particularly still on this side, even with some of the places like Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela. There's still far too many, particularly in the Caribbean region, of nation states that are just captured. Their leadership just captured by Western interests, and it does exactly what you said. It allows this imagery of like the Caribbean and Central and Latin America are mostly united on this intervention in Haiti because those governments serve the same interests. So yeah.
And CARICOM as an institution, it has its issues, but again, being in these spaces, they want to point out the fact that it's not all CARICOM countries. Okay, fine, it's not all CARICOM countries, but it's enough. And Barbados and Bahamas and Jamaica are not small CARICOM countries, so they have political influence in the region. So these are not little countries that are insignificant. And then if that's the case, then why are we not hearing more about who's speaking out? Why are they not amplified? So I think to say that it's only some and not all, it's a pretty good amount of the sum. It's a pretty good significant amount of the sum who's sending a significant amount of police and troops to help Kenya. They're not sending like 2 or 3, they're sending hundreds. And they also have, when we think about Jamaica specifically, have their own set of issues with violence. So so I think it's CARICOM has, they are not getting enough smoke. I agree. As an institution, Mia Motley specifically, to see Mia Motley to make that speech about Cuba and the necessity to stand beside Cuba and then turn around and do this to Haiti. Yeah, but then also Mia Motley, I think, is up for a position at the UN. I think she's up for a seat. So she's greasing her wheels. It's the same thing that she did with the Summit of the Americas, the lip service, and then she still went. So it's a lot of those sort of progressive forces that exist in CARICOM that have been able to align themselves with the U.S. no problem.
Yeah, and this is why the term progressive almost has no meaning anymore internationally and domestically when we look at the people who call themselves progressives and the kinds of policies they support in regard to Haiti internationally and domestically in regard to things like Cop City, in regard to economic policies that are being, just allowed to expire, that have given the working class and the poor, particularly the poor in this country, a little bit of breathing room. And nobody fought to continue those policies, not even the so-called progressives. And I just want to state that the United States has pledged $200 million for this invasion of Haiti. Imagine what could have been done with that money, with $200 million, if it had been given to Haiti, if it had been pledged to Haiti 2 years ago, 3 years ago, to address some of the infrastructure issues. That if imagine $200 million in the garment factories, that amount of money being given to the workers, which they've been in the street demanding a raise in their wages for years, right? So the amount of money that these countries, particularly the United States, is committing to this occupation, this invasion and occupation of Haiti, could very well have been given to Haiti to actually address the structural issues and the humanitarian issues that people face, right along with the dissolution of the core group and giving Haiti back their sovereignty and allowing them to vote for their own elected representatives, which is what Haitian people have been demanding. Anytime people are in the streets with a sign that says USA, fuck you, this is not this occupation, this multinational occupation force. This is not what the people wanted, and they understand and know very well that the U.S. is completely behind this. So we've got a little bit of time because they have not announced a date for the deployment of these forces. I think Kenyan officials have said that it may be in a few months, as late as January. So we've got some time to make a whole lot of noise, and we plan to. So stay tuned for that.
All right, there it is. So right on time, Jackie. That's perfect timing in the sense that we got to get clear for your interview. And Ear Doctor has said there's no break. We'll go right into the video and the guest.
Oh, all right. So let's just get to it.
Can we at least get your intro thing?
Yeah, we got. I mean, he's got to hit that part.
You're gonna get that right.
Yeah.
Did he leave?
No, I don't
This
know
is
where
really
he
high
is,
level
but-
production.
All right, can y'all read what it says in the chat room? I
Is he
said
curmudgeon-y again today?
It says no
Yes,
break
yes,
from
yes.
me. We will go into intro video to
Are you
guest.
supposed to read that?
keep reading,
No.
keep reading.
So JL announce guest and video will play.
Bam.
Okay, so as I mentioned really quickly, pig cities, cop cities, we're calling them pig cities now. They are proliferating. Proposals for these pig cities are proliferating now all over the country. That's not a coincidence. And one of the places that it is happening, a proposal is being made, is out on the West Coast in California. And we're going to talk about that with our comrade from the Black Alliance for Peace, Bilal Balagoon, right after this.
I want credit for my production.
Oh, Thank you so much for joining us and staying with us for this great conversation with our comrade in the Black Alliance for Peace, Bilal Balagoon, out in the West Coast, out in California. Thank you so much, comrade, for waking up hella early out there to be with us.
Hey, Bilal.
Hey, Ricky. Hey, Kamal.
Hey, what's going on, Bilal? How you feeling, bro?
Oh, man, you know, I'm feeling like a villain, brother. Actually, it's okay being up this early. Wednesday is one of my gym days, so I'm usually in the gym around 5:36. You know, I'm trying to get another 71 years on this old veteran organizing body here. Keep moving. I want to be here. I don't want to be around when it go down. You know? Okay.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's kind of like my Carnell West impersonation. But anyway.
we know you're not a jazz man like he is, but we
Oh, yes, I am. I'm a jazz man. I was playing acoustic double bass, jazz bass at 16 years old.
I have stepped on the toes.
Don't do that.
But yeah, but I'm not going to use all those jazz analogies and metaphors as Carnell West. But anyway, yeah, thank you for having me on here. Thank you, everybody. I got the comrades with me, so good being here. Yeah, we recently were alerted that the city of San Pablo, this is in the San Francisco Bay Area, San Pablo is approximately about 14 miles north of Oakland. It's a very small town, population of 30,000 folks, majority Latinx, 56 to be precise. The police force consists of 56 sworn officers and the other civilian personnel. So we were alerted this few weeks ago about this new police headquarters and training center in San Pablo with a cost of $43.6 million. Their annual budget is $66 million. So we were alerted to this. The coalition was formed around it, mostly white anarchists, and they didn't notify anybody. So when I got an alert from this group called Oakland Abolition, which is anonymous, which to me, that means 50% of the group is the police. They sent me a missive about a rally that was last Saturday, right? So anyway, we had a couple of members of our BAYBAP, our Bay Area chapter of the Black Alliance of Peace, attend one of their meetings. I mean, it was Ray reported it was very disorganized, disrespectful to the community, and so forth. We even had one person in the meeting advocating for what's called individual rage or violence, and which sends a message to me that this person is working for law enforcement to make a statement in front of a room full of people he didn't know. He's law enforcement, or he's just a complete idiot. So if I ever meet him, I'm going to ask him if he with law enforcement. If he says no, then I said, well, then you're an idiot. But anyway, so it's been mostly been the opposition to this regional police headquarters and training center has been mostly ran by a bunch of white anarchists, which we're not about to follow. We know the issues that happen in Atlanta. But again, as it was said, it's a 2-story building. It's already been green lit. There was a groundbreaking scheduled in August 10th, but that was postponed due to, as they said, security concerns and safety concerns. They knew a rally, a protest was planned. So right now, the Bay Area chapter of the Black Alliance of Peace, what we're planning on doing is organizing around that in solidarity with our folks in Atlanta, and then what's going to happen in Baltimore. So, but here's the rub. The city of San Pablo built a new police headquarters and training center in 2019. So the question is, why do they need another one? So those questions we're going to be posing to them and other folks. We're also going to go out and not paratroop in this community like these anarchists did. They didn't do any outreach, but we're researching the lay of the land there. We're going to go out and do a tour and hopefully talk to some of the residents, ask them what they think about this thing, and have an organizing effort around that, because we know what will happen. We'll be accused of being outside agitators, right? That game, and pitting us against the community. So we want to go out there and develop a relationship with those folks. Now, the press in the city of San Pablo is saying that the community of San Pablo is supporting that. And they took a survey, but the surveys are really off because, as I said, this city, it's a very small city. 56% of the residents there are Latinx, but the survey shows only 13% of that population was included in the survey. So we know it's BS. So we're gonna maybe do our own survey. We're still planning on our strategy, but that will be one of the elements. We were going to do our own survey with people and find out, and to build opposition indigenous to that community, right? And so, so basically, I see these big cities are being erected now. And it's also, this facility will include surveillance techniques, simulators, and a drone launching site. They're also inviting other sister cities there, law enforcement, to be part of this, and they can use it for that, because it doesn't make any sense. A city of only 30,000 people and 56 police, why you need this new police headquarters and training centers when you built the new one in 2019.
Not forgetting the cost, but I think in Nashville it was just announced too that another version of a cop city is also being built. And so, and I think as Jackie was saying in her introduction, this has now become the sort of sweeping norm. There's like these huge so-called police training centers, which you are right, are nothing more than training and surveillance centers against our larger communities. And that's, I think a lot of that has to do with where we're at within the United States. And again, the fact that they do try to push these things through as a reaction to so-called, as brought up in either the first story we did today about Morgan State, and even going back to Haiti, where they use so-called violence in the community or in the street or whatever as their rationale, which again, people are already propagandized around to not come out as strongly as we would like against these things, because they are told that the only solution to community issues and problems are more police. And if you want the police to stop doing bad things, they need more training, right? So the excuse and the rationales are always for them to build more, build bigger. And basically what they're doing is setting up these military-sized complexes. And there's nothing else that you could say, but they are basically military bases for police. And this is sweeping the nation. This is the new way in which order will be kept. This is a new way in which the police violence and police powers will be expanded. And these headquarters will do nothing but surveil or continue over policing and attacking organizers and other community efforts to fight back against police violence in our community.
No, I totally agree with that. I see it as also, we refer to them as pig cities, or if you will, pig troughs. At that cop city, and that they're calling this a campus. They use these terms of respectability. I don't respect that shit so at all. Pig city, pig trough, call it what it is. I lost my thought there for a moment. But yeah, I see this as a manifestation of Jim Crow Joe Biden's basically declaration when Black Lives Matter and others were calling for defunding the police. I mean, he was on stage during his run, the election cycle. He says, we don't need to defund the police. We need to give them more money, right? Give them more money. So I see that was a green light for acceptability to push these centers. And yeah, you're right. They're against us. We want to go in that community and educate people on that there are other needs in that city. There are other needs that should be addressed. This is called, the city of San Pablo is called this, in their history, the largest public works project in their history. So it doesn't make any sense. So we want to go there. We want to survey people. What are the needs they feel that need to be addressed, and not this pig trough that's going to be built over there after one has already been built. So they built it, that's crazy. That's the rub.
I had a question. Where is San Pablo located? I know you said it's in the San Francisco Bay Area. Is that under the jurisdiction of London Breed?
No. It's its own city. Mm-hmm. London Breed is the mayor of the female Black Democrat version of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. She's the mayor of San Francisco. Again, San Pablo's 14 miles north of Oakland. I'm referencing Oakland because that's the East Bay, and I live in the East Bay. I don't live in San Francisco anymore. So no, the city council, I think, is 5 people on the city council. They're mostly Latinx, right? It's mostly a Democratic city and so forth. And then we see these pig cities are being erected in democratically controlled locales, municipalities, right? What referred to as neoliberal democratic fascism.
And to be clear, Bilal, this is not to that point that you're making, that these pig cities are being erected in democratically controlled cities. This isn't the GOP like imposing these facilities on these cities. This is the democratic leadership of these cities passing these pieces of legislation, these proposals for these pig cities, in a lot of instances, almost under the cover of night. Was there any public comment? Was there any publicity around this proposal for this pig city?
Yes, there was, and there was public comment, which is kind of almost rare in the city of San Pablo. There was public comment and support for this training center, but the majority of that support, and it might be off something, the majority of support came from police officers, law enforcement. So
surprise.
This is why we're going into that community, right?
Right. Which speaks to the importance of an organized group of Africans surveying the community about what they think about this facility, as opposed to a bunch of pigs saying, this is a good idea.
Yeah, and going back, they said August 10th was supposed to be the groundbreaking, and they postponed it, and they haven't given a date for a new groundbreaking ceremony. But they said it was postponed because a protest was planned due to security and safety issues. I do not totally buy into that, because we also know the $43 million that's slated, the cost, they have not raised all of that yet. So I think they're still scrambling for the money. So we have time, I think, So like I said, our members of Bay BAP had attended this so-called coalition meeting, and they said it was just, it wasn't happening. And we just had them go there to be fly on the walls. And they went to the rally last Friday, and they said it was very disorganized. And a counter demonstrator was attacked and beaten by some anarchists right in front of everybody. So we're nobody's flunkies, and I definitely don't follow no white.
Just beat up a pro Cop City demonstrator.
A counter Cop City Pig City demonstrator.
I'm not mad at him.
You got a gang of people jumping on one person. That doesn't really, we don't get
too bad. You have to be principled, but
you don't get down like that. I'm not going to leave for 20 people to jump on one asshole. You know what I'm saying? That don't look too good.
No, that's true.
Really quickly too. I mean,
I want to emphasize with the person getting jumped on, but that look, I can't. I
just want to emphasize the point about the Democrats running a playbook for this, right? Because we recently had emails come out in Atlanta where the Democratic mayor of Atlanta has been in conversation with the Biden administration on talking points on selling what they call the training center. So I want to agree with you that this is not initiatives. It's not like these initiatives won't be taken by Republicans, but these initiatives are clearly in the lap of Democratic mayors of urban cities who buy into and or believe in the idea of these large police military bases in our communities, right? They've completely brought into it. And the thing that the Republicans and the Democrats, no matter what their larger fights are, cops and capitalism, they always come together on those things. Right. There's no separation between the two. More cops, more capitalism. For them, is always the solution to any and every problem, because that's all they know and that's all they believe in.
Exactly. And that's one of the characteristics of fascism also, too. Interesting, these democratic municipalities and politicians, police forces across the country, I forgot, it's something like 96% are registered Republicans. So we see the trick bag right there, right? What's really going on. So basically right now we're in early stages of mapping out our objectives and strategies and tactics. We're going to enlist to confront this. One more thing, this group that I was speaking of, this organized anarchist group, they made a statement in the press and they says, we can stop Cop City here in the Bay. It'll stop. It will stop Atlanta Cop City. So that's that Bay Area narcissism. Really, how would you know anything like that? So now I'm making the claim that, stop it here to stop there. We're the shit. Also, in the midst of that was sent to me about alerting me about the Cop City from this anarchist group about Oakland abolition, and let me know about this rally this last Saturday. There was no mention. They talked about the Cop City and all. There was no mention of Cop City, Atlanta, or the one proposed in Baltimore, the struggles going on there against that. No mention whatsoever. So in the Bay Area, you have this like I call it the Bay Area narcissism, right? I was talking to some folks the other day, and Senator Dianne Feinstein just passed away, right? So I was taught if you don't have anything good to say about the dead, don't so I would just say she dead.
But she is.
The elephant tears, even so-called progressives here, and I ask people who they like to tell you, I'm born and raised in San Francisco. Dianne Feinstein, in the early 80s, the San Francisco City Hall flew a Confederate flag. And Dianne Feinstein defended that. Mm-hmm. And there were some black union workers and another group of all groups, the Spartacus League, if y'all familiar with those folks. They climbed the pole and took the flag down. She had the flag put back up. They climbed again, took it down again. She threatened to arrest them. They climbed and took it down, and they kept doing it. They just dropped it, right? But she defended that. So all these platitudes toward this woman, you won't hear that. And how she disrespected and chided these young Latinx students, whatever, question her on climate change and education, right? And you can find that somewhere, that video. But the way she treated those kids and stuff. So anyway, I have no tears for Dianne Feinstein and this Bay Area narcissism. None of that. I tell you, it's terrible. So again, we want to use this also as a vehicle to build the Black Alliance for Peace presence and involvement in the community, and also as a vehicle we're using to regenerate Black radical politics in the Bay Area. It's gone. Like to claim this is the bastion of progressivism, radicalism in the Bay Area, and that's all running on fumes. In my day, my Camp days, yeah, but no, it's running on fumes. San Francisco actually has the most anti-homeless laws in the state of California, and on and on. And they're holding people in jail in San Francisco indefinitely awaiting trial. And they're saying because of COVID, they have to violate the amendment for speedy trial. So you have people sitting in jail for over a year and have not been to court yet. So this so-called progressive, bastion is all bullshit.
Wow. So Bilal, excuse me, with the last couple of minutes we have left, I just want to clear something up. It's clear that you've got some serious antagonism toward this little anarchist group in the area. Is there room for organizing with anarchists, with Black radicals and anarchists? I just want to clear that up in case people are asking.
I'm not making a blanket judgment on anarchists, because I work with anarchists, Black Cross, around the political prisoners, and there's just different tendencies to anarchists. You even have anarchist capitalists, right? But so
I'm so confused.
So there's different tendencies. I judge people by their practice. And if they're willing to work with us and they're willing to understand that they can be out there leading people, especially if they're disorganized. Most anarchists I met, especially the young ones, it's a phase in their life. And most of them are just pissed off at mama and daddy, and that's their way to express they're pissed off at this. And so, but I believe the road to liberation, self-determination, freedom for everybody, that road is painted black. So that's where I'm at. I'm not. White folks, go into your communities and organize your communities, which we've been saying since the 60s. And do not come in our spaces, because when they come in our space, they come in a position of powerlessness because they don't have power in their communities. They're afraid, have doors slammed in their face, and they call nigger lovers and all that kind of shit, right? So here you bring your tired asses into our spaces, right?
Let me just say quickly, in defense of the anarchists that we've worked with. So the anarchists that we work with have been principled. And like any group, there's people who aren't principled within it, but we've had principled working relationships. We've actually adopted anarchist tactics in a lot of ways by saying the use of diversity of tactics and flat leadership styles. And those things have served us well here in Atlanta, despite the city's attempt to paint folks as either outside agitators and so forth. So obviously, I think, different places may have different situations. But I also want to say, similar to what you said, it's all in the practice, right?
Right.
It's in the practice. It's in our practice and it's in their practice. So it's all in the practice of what we do when we organize together when those situations arise to stop these kind of facilities. And again, I say anarchists out here have taken chances that people have not been able to do, have not taken chances at. And I have to applaud in some of their actions and activities. But that's
I hear you. I'm not making a blanket condemnation on anarchists, and just correct you a little bit here. Those principles you say you take in front of anarchists, those are not really, they are not originally anarchist principles. We were doing that the diversity of tactics back in the 60s, brother. So, you know, I ain't gonna give them more credit than they deserve either, right?
Well, I'm not going to take away credit from things that they also do.
The LAPD had a dossier on me I discovered back in 2012, and then they described former Black Panther, former Los Angeles Black Panther, now anarchist leader, and we had to go down to the police commission in LA, right? And they had all my activities they had in there recently, and I told them I exposed the doc today. They didn't know about it, but I also told them too. I was described as a new anarchist Black leader, and I said I resent that. I resent the anarchists getting credit for all my goddamn good work here in LA. All right, so don't put that on me. You can put Black identity extremists, but do not put Black anarchist leader. Thank you. So,
well, like here in Baltimore, to Bilal's point, I think even the conditions, right? All the material conditions are different from city to city, even if you're facing like neocolonial and comprador politicians that serve a particular role to do this. But in a city like that's majority African like Baltimore, it is a different, how we organize and how we do diversity of tactics is really important, especially from the offset. So being able to center Africans in this struggle and keep them centered there, even if we're not leading every single thing, but we're in communication with everybody doing everything, I think is really important, because the dynamics and the visuals of that really do impact the way that we're able to organize. I mean, what Killer Mike said was some BS, but there is a level of validity to it, as opposed in the context of how it's received by other people who are not engaged in this, who are far removed from it and only see particular faces, and it's essentially a Black issue. So that becomes a point of contention for the ways that we're able to organize around this very serious issue, and who we can actually bring in to make some groundwork. So I didn't take it that Bilal was saying anything like a sweeping judgment about anarchists, just talking about his predicament in the Bay, because I know the situation in Atlanta is a 3-year situation, right? It's not like a limited kind of time. So you all have had ebbs and flows of this working relationship, whereas this is the beginning for Bay BAP, and this is what they're coming into and on the upfront. So that will put people on pause.
Right, and also to that, also when we go in, when we're in the community, we're not going to use it. We're not going to use the term pig cities and pig troughs, right? Because we don't know who we're talking to. So especially if we're talking to some folks and they have relatives in there, we don't want to turn them off like that, right? So, and you know how people feel about the cost. Right now, it's the same going across the country. We have this large retail appropriations, I'll call them, right? They're calling them retail theft. I call it appropriations. And so you have the NAACP in Oakland pressuring the mayor there, pressuring the city to bring in more police. And Oakland already has police. They have the sheriff's department and the FBI on the streets of Oakland. So the NAACP of Oakland is calling, we need more police, more police, more police. So you know, you got that happening there. So we got to be very tactful and strategic when we're talking to people about these kind of issues right now, because there's a lot of confusion out here, right? And we're going back, the cause of this or the reasons for all of these pig troughs, as we go back to what the rationale behind the Black Alliance for Peace is establishing the Black Alliance for Peace. We said that as the crisis continues to grow for these folks that have been in power so long, that the crisis as it continues to grow because of the sharpening of the contradictions, their response will be repressive measures. So we see these pig cities I like pig troughs, actually. Somebody said, no, let's call them pig towns. But we're seeing evidence of that right now with all of this. This is more, as Kamal said, as the contradiction sharpened, there's going to be more people out in the street. And they're not so much worried about people being out in the street, because people get out of the streets, but the organizing around that, people being organized, and it's organized rage and responses. They're getting ready for that.
Brother Bilal, can we see that shirt you got on though?
I just showed it earlier.
Oh, there it is. That's nice.
Hey, Ear Doctor.
I think
I'm sorry. I actually have to go because I have to go.
Yeah,
to work.
I think we all have to go. Ear Doctor, come on up and
I gotta go too. Ear Doctor, when you're doing those profiles, appreciate you, brother.
No doubt.
Do a little more jazz profiles and more blues profiles, because Black people culture is not just hip hop.
No doubt. I got you.
Hip hop comes from all of that.
I teach it all the time, no doubt.
That's what I've been telling
Well, thanks so
Put it
much.
on the show. I want to see more about Train and Arnett Coleman and Muddy Waters.
Talk that.
Memphis Minnie, brother. And don't call Billy. I heard on one show, it's been a while back, that Billy Joe ain't no blue-eyed soul, brother.
He is corner. He's got a stream.
I appreciate you.
No doubt. I appreciate you too, bro. Thanks for coming on.
I feel the beginning theme song every morning, man. I feel that. It gets me ready. But I got to bounce, y'all. I got to bounce. Thank you. All power to the people. You know?
No doubt.
Peace, Bilal.
All right. Peace, Bilal. Thanks so much.
All right. No compromise, no retreat.
No retreat.
All right.
All right. Peace, y'all. I got to roll.
All right.
Happy birthday, Jackie.
Thank you.
Hey, we got Kalonji in the building. We got everybody. Happy birthday, Jackie. And we are out of here. We be back here tomorrow on no other than the Remix Morning Show. And we out, y'all. Peace. I ain't got no music playing. Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom.